Well, wish me luck, folks. This is the very first video with a new and unfamiliar camera. I don't really know what I'm doing, so I've got my fingers crossed it's all going to turn out okay. We have got loads of news for you this week, and a lot of it is good, which always puts a smile on my face, although we do have one piece of very tragic news to report to you. We're going to talk about the buses, lots of initiatives that Cabildo is going through at the moment, the joining of the two airport terminals, terminals 1 and 2 at Cesar Manrique Airport, the record for tourism in 2024, and much more. And as always, stay tuned until the end to see 3 things that you could be doing if you're on the island next week. So let's start off with 5 new buses have been added to the bus fleet here in Lanzarote, and they go live next week, and I gather most if not all of the 5 are going to be used on Linea 3 line 3, which is the line that's struggling the most in terms of full buses and numbers at the moment. These are new super duper hybrid diesel buses which have got loads of gizmos and gadgets on them, and they were very proudly handed over to the Cabildo this week. So expect to see some changes to the frequencies of buses, and I know that line 3 now on Saturdays will have its normal weekday allocation of buses as well, but I think that quite a few things will change over the next few weeks and hopefully alleviate some of the problems we've had on the buses in the last few months or so. Now next up, and I think this is a really good idea, this is a proposal from the Cabildo to allow people to put an extra story on their properties in Arrecife. And let's be clear, we're not talking about adding an extra floor to apartment buildings, we're talking about putting a second floor onto villas or 2-story properties, perhaps getting another floor on top. And this is aimed at specifically at going some way towards alleviating the lack of housing we've got at the moment. And the idea is that people will be able to build a self-contained small apartment on top of their existing property, which could provide a home for grown-up children or for the grandparents, therefore freeing up their home. And like I say, I think it's a good idea, a decent initiative, and I hope it goes through. At this stage, it's just a proposal. And while we're talking about the housing issue, the new holiday letting law is progressing very well through the Canarian Parliament at the moment. The Tourism Minister, Jessica de Leon, announced this week that they've struck a deal with the online booking platform Booking.com, and they now their inspectors now have access to Booking.com's data, and the aim with that, of course, is to try and stamp out some of the illegal letting that is going on in unlicensed properties and properties where the owners aren't paying their taxes here. Booking.com is the first one. They're also working with Airbnb and multiple other platforms to try and get the same level of data access. And going back to transport now, the Cabildo has advocated this week that the taxi companies on the island, and there are several cooperatives that operate in different municipalities here, they are advocating that the taxi services all use a platform called taxilanzarote.net. And this is an existing platform that is up and running already. It's very neat and nice to use. It's available in English and Spanish. At the moment, it only serves, I guess, what you would describe as private hire vehicles rather than the municipal taxis. And the Cabildo are suggesting the taxi companies sign up onto it and make themselves available to be used for airport transfers and things like that. I haven't seen their reaction yet, but I'll tell you all about it as and when I do. I think it's a good idea, and it's moving the taxi service, or dragging it, screaming I should say, into the 21st century to be able to just, pull up a website on your phone and order a taxi to be delivered to wherever you are, to go to the airport or whatever. And while we're talking about the airport, Aena, which is the airport's authority here in Spain, have confirmed that they are now going ahead with the plan to join the 2 terminals at the airport. You may or may not be aware of this, but we do actually have two terminals, Terminal 1 and Terminal 2. Terminal 1 is the one that almost all of you will have used. Terminal 2 is currently only used for inter-island flights. The only aircraft that use that are the little Binter turboprops and the Canary Fly turboprops. At the moment you have to walk out of the Terminal 1 building to go to Terminal 2 and vice versa. The idea is that the two will be joined. It's quite a big initiative. What I don't know, and isn't clear from the press release they put out, is whether that will open up those additional gates for international flights or whether they'll still be only for inter-island flights. But as soon as I find out more, I will tell you about that. This is a pretty long-term thing, though. They don't plan to start work on this until 2027, and they don't expect it to be completed until 2031. So they're planning well in advance. So I think we all knew this was coming. The numbers are in for 2024 tourism, and as you would expect, it was a historic high for Lanzarote. 3.4 million was the number we reached in the end, which is 7.8% up on last year. But more importantly, it's a million up on 2014. So in that 10-year space, the numbers of tourists visiting here have increased by a million. The top country of visitors was the United Kingdom, again, as you'd expect, with around half of all of those 3.4 million visitors. Germany and Ireland, in fact I should have said it the other way around, Ireland and Germany were in second and third place with just over 10% each. Ireland never ceases to amaze me, because when you think they provided the second biggest number of visitors to this island and you look at their population, it's an astonishing amount of Irish people who come over and enjoy Lanzarote. Now it wasn't just Lanzarote, of course, that had a record last year. It was the Canary Islands as a whole. The Canary Islands had over 18 million visitors, and the Canarian president, Fernando Clavijo, put out a statement this week talking about it. I'm going to read from my iPad what he actually said. He said that we need to rethink the strategy as a destination. We can't continue this model of more tourists. Maybe we have to start saying the same or less, but with greater purchasing power, with greater spending in destination, and with a more responsible use of our natural resources. He went on, it's clear that the tourism centre has meant a great deal to the Canary Islands to move from a ruralised and poor society to what we are today. The path we have travelled has been one of success, but now our growth has to be qualitative, not quantitative. I think those are good words and important words, and I agree with everything he said there. What he hasn't said is how, and I really think that now we need some concrete plans as to how we're going to at least stop the growth in tourism and kind of cap it where it is, and perhaps with a view to slightly reducing it over the next few years. This is a weird story that came up this week. An illegal car rental company apparently has been operating in Arrecife since 2022, and police raided the place this week and have made reports to the tax authorities and licensing authorities and so on. The person running it is apparently an American-born resident of Lanzarote, and he had 38 cars registered in his name, and the police found over 100 adverts in various publications advertising these cars for rental, and he had a workshop in Arrecife set up so that the cars could be serviced and repaired when they were damaged. Apparently a lot of them were seen around the cruise port area, and it's believed that he was advertising extensively to cruise ship visitors and delivering cars to them to come on the day. So that operation has been shut down now, and when I find out more about it, because I'm intrigued how anyone could build up a car hire fleet of 38 cars under the radar, I will let you know. Good to see that Tias Ayuntamiento have recognised 5 Irish businessmen for, in their words, their contribution to the community. And the mayor went around and presented them with certificates. They are, he says, reading from his iPad again, Mai Blake from the Irish Harbour Bar, Shay and Kathleen Byrne from Paddy's Bar, Gilbert Brown from the Spinnaker Bar, Jerry Flanagan from Nellie's Bar, and my friend John Killeen, who owns Lanzarote Investments, the estate agency. It's good to see people being recognised for their contribution both to their own, in this case, Irish community, but also to the island in general. I was reading a really interesting article this week that Spain, as you probably know, has the one of the highest growths within all of the European countries, and is scheduled to grow even more significantly than most in 2025 and 2026. And a lot of that has been put down to immigration. And this is a good example. The Irish businessmen who are immigrants to Spain, to Lanzarote, who have created good businesses which employ a lot of people and pay a lot of tax. So well done to them, and well done to TIAS for recognising them. I also liked that Tinajo are creating a cenotaph to the Majos. And the Majos were the indigenous people of Lanzarote before the Spanish invasion. It's thought that they were originally Berbers from Africa who came over here. They lived a sort of cave-dwelling type of lifestyle, very simple lifestyle. They were a peaceful people. And obviously a lot of people in Lanzarote can trace their lineage back to those original Majos who ended up meeting and marrying the Spanish conquistadores. I'm pleased to see that there's some kind of monument going up to them here. On many of the other islands we've been to over the years, there are some really quite nice places that act as a point of reflection and have good statues of the Guanches and the Majos. This is described as a cenotaph. I don't really know what that means, but Tinajo are also saying that it will be an area of reflection. So there's going to be a garden around it, and obviously we'll get footage of that as soon as it's open to the public. Now, this is the point at which I should ask you once again, please, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do so. And if you like this video, please give us a like. It really does help make our videos more visible to other people. I read every single comment below, so if you've got a question or a comment, please leave it below. I will always do my best to answer your questions quickly and accurately. Thank you for watching. Now, I said at the top that we had an awful lot of news. There are a few more stories to tell you, but don't forget to hang in there for the 3 things you can do at the end in a few moments. So the the first of 3 final stories. There's been a call for the reinstatement of a pharmacy at Cesar Manrique Airport. Now, I missed this completely because I remember when there was a pharmacy there, and apparently it was taken out about 7 or 8 years ago, and I just didn't even notice. It was on the first floor where you go to the check-in desks and drop your luggage off. It's been said, and I totally agree with this, that Lanzarote Airport should have a pharmacy in it, both for the workers there, but also for the tourists, the millions of tourists, as we know, who travel through it. So I gather that's been received very well, and planning will be given for that in the very near future. Now, this is the horrible story that I've left to the penultimate one. And it's about a young Italian man, 30-year-old Italian man called Salvatore Sinagra. He got into an altercation with someone at the Matagorda shopping centre. And apparently, and these things always seem to happen over something really trivial and insignificant, it was over a game of football that they were playing. He had this altercation with someone else in there, a 25-year-old local Canarian person, went outside for a cigarette, and the 25-year-old followed him out and punched him extremely hard. He fell back onto the tiles, which is always the danger here, and suffered quite a serious brain injury. He was airlifted to Las Palmas, where he remains in a coma, an induced coma, but it's touch and go whether he will make it or not. The 25-year-old man was subsequently arrested, and he is described as someone with an extensive criminal record, and he'll be appearing in court very shortly. So our fingers are crossed for Salvatore, and hopefully he will make a recovery, come out of that coma and recover in due course. And finally, once again, the Cabildo is in the news this week for the purchase of El Mercadillo. Now, that means the market in English, and you may know the building actually. It's in Calle Leon y Castillo, which we all know as Calle Real, and which is the main sort of pedestrian street in Arrecife. And it's on the Mercadillo is on the right hand side as you walk up from the sea direction. It's a beautiful old building, and it has a sort of mezzanine floor with a balcony around it. There was a model shop in there, various little interesting shops, and the railings around the balcony are lovely. Very traditional building. The Cabildo have bought it. I think it's a really good shout, and the aim is to turn it into a place to showcase Canarian cuisine. Now, they don't say any more than that, they're not specific, but we were in Madrid last week, and funnily enough, we were in a building very like that, which was a converted warehouse, and it was one of those places where you had food stalls all the way around the outside, and you could go and order noodles from a Chinese food stall, and on the other side you could order an arepa from an Argentinian food stall, and you just take them to tables in the middle with a beer or a glass of wine and sit down and eat them. I hope that is the plan for the Mercadillo in Arrecife, and I will actually drop them an email with some pictures of the place we were in Madrid and say, look, how about this as an idea? I'll keep you posted on that. So that brings the news to an end. I'm now going to tell you about 3 things you could be doing next week if you're on the island. Now, the first one is an hour of jazz on Sunday the 9th of February, and this is with Juan Gomez. This starts at 7:30 in the evening. It's at the Centro Antroposófico, which is in Calle Salinas number 12 in Puerto del Carmen. It kicks off, as I say, at 7:30. The price is €15, and that includes a drink. And it's just an hour of jazz, and the picture shows Juan at a piano, so I presume it's going to be piano jazz. And if you fancy a chill out with a nice drink in Puerto del Carmen, that might be a good one to go to. Now, I should make an apology here. I talked about this a couple of weeks ago, an event called Showcase at the Teatro Municipal in Tias, where the kids, probably the wrong word, the pupils from the theatre school in Lanzarote were due to perform a show. They cancelled that show quite late on, forgot to let us know, so I know a few people who watch this video rocked up there to go and watch it. My apologies, we didn't know. That is taking place now on Monday the 10th. I'm just going to check the time, at 7 o'clock. So that's an extra one, if you like, this week for those of you who went to it originally. It's now taking place, fingers crossed they don't cancel it again, on Monday at 7 p.m. Now, next up is a motorsport event. It's the annual Rally La Candelaria, which sort of takes place in and around Tias. There'll be, usually there's a showcasing of cars in Tias on one of the days, and then the rally stages take place sort of on the hills above Tias. This is on the 14th and 15th of February. I'm not going to go through all the details with you, but if you look at escuderialanzarote.gmail, escuderialanzarote.com, and I'll spell that for you, ESCUDERIA, Lanzarote.com. Apparently you should see all of the details of the routes being taken and the timings of them. If that doesn't work for you, and I've not used that website myself, falp.com, FALP, is another one that looks after motorsport in the Canaries, so if you're into motor racing or rallying, you might enjoy that one. And finally, this is an interesting one. This is also on the 14th and 15th of February. It kicks off at 8 p.m. and it's at the Castillo de San Jose in Arrecife. That's the smaller round castle right on the seafront overlooking the cruise port in Arrecife. And this event is called En un tango la vida. and it's a celebration of the art of tango, but served with a really special meal. And I'm looking down because I've got a copy of the menu here. This isn't cheap, it's 95 euros per person, but I gather it's going to be a really spectacular event with a very special menu. I won't bore you by reading it out. If you go to our What's On pages and click to 14th of February, you'll see the details in there. You can purchase tickets through a link there, and you can also download a copy of the menu.